Rob Moseley covers Oregon. Go Ducks, and he joins us on 365 Sports with Craig and Paul, David Smoke. And Rob, what a win. What a great finish. Dynamic to the end. We mentioned the Dan Lanning saying that they worked on that 12 men on the field. When you saw that and then you knew time was off and they didn't put it back, what was that like on your end? And then he says that they've worked on that. That's a Bill Belichick-like move.
Well, I was freaking out at the time because I was in the end zone yelling, "We got 12, we got 12, call timeout, call timeout." And fortunately, much smarter people than I were on the Oregon sideline at the time because they clearly had a plan in place, it sounds like. So it seemed to me last night Coach Lanning left a little bit of his door open for some ambiguity on that, how you interpret his answer there. But regardless, it worked out really well, obviously, for the Ducks. And for a game that was so highly anticipated, for it to kind of meet the moment the way the game did, it was pretty special all the way around.
Rob, did that feel like a Big Ten football game?
I don't really know. I mean, I've only experienced a couple at this point, and one was against UCLA. So that felt like a game from right out of the recent past. But it felt like a slobber knocker, that's for sure. It was, that Ohio State was supposed to play here in 2020. That game got canceled because of the pandemic. So for the fans around here, really, it wasn't just, since conference realignment or schedules were announced for this season. Since 2020, our fans have been clamoring for Ohio State to make the trip out here and then to see Oregon test themselves against that program. And so again, I mean, for a game to be that highly anticipated and meet the moment was pretty awesome.
Rob, Dillon Gabriel has always been it's like go back to UCF, Texas against Oklahoma when he had the big game, the big moment against Texas. He's always his best in big moments. He is diminutive as quarterbacks go. What has the Dillon Gabriel experience been like for Ducks fans?
Yeah, I think obviously there's, he's had a couple moments he'd like to have back, a couple turnovers in the red area a couple weeks back. But I think overall, you just look at the productivity. You look at the job this offense did with Will Stein coming in last year and working with Bo Nix and just how efficient and explosive they were. And you kind of hoped that, things could be the same with Dillon Gabriel in place. And I think that, the whole team took a bit of time the first couple weeks of the season to kind of find its groove a little bit and tweak some things here and there, line up schematically, all that. But I think, the last few weeks since the comfort level has really started to really seem apparent between him and his offensive line, the skill guys, you just see him executing for the most part at a really high level with a couple of plays being the exception. But yeah, he's just, he's got that kind of Hawaiian Islands, like cool, calm demeanor where, kind of whatever's going on, it's all good. He can kind of roll with it. And, we see it like in post-game interviews. He's just so comfortable, in a room full of people, some of them 2 or 3 times his age, just really, taking command of a podium at a press conference, taking command of an offense on the field, and really thriving in the spotlight. So it's been fun to watch so far.
Evan Stewart had a really nice game on Saturday, his best game as a Duck at this point. They've obviously got a very talented wide receiver core that he's a part of, starting with, Tez Johnson and others. But, your perspective on Evan Stewart, his contributions, and just kind of how he fits into the big picture.
Yeah, just obviously, was his reputation was being a really explosive athlete who create separation and get down the field. And I think the first few weeks of the season, for Oregon, the focus was, seemed to be kind of shorter, more intermediate stuff. And, Tez Johnson's really, really effective in that. And I think he's like 4th in the nation in catches right now. So he's obviously been getting the job done. And there's a talented tight end group as well that the Ducks like to work to as well. So, there's just kind of, you can be the victim of the fact there's only one football sometimes, but then you go into a matchup like last week where clearly the Ducks thought they could have some success with deep shots. And, Evan Stewart being a guy who can thrive in that situation, he showed that and just made some really big plays down the field that really sparked this team offensively.
Was that the first time that Evan Stewart has, in a way, kind of gone off?
Oh yeah, here, yeah. Since he got here, yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, I think you were starting to see some fans wonder, why wasn't he getting the ball? Was something going on? And again, I just think you can be the victim sometimes of the fact there's only one ball to go around. And based on the way Oregon has recruited the last decade, and particularly the last few years, there's some really really talented guys in some other spots that you can get the ball to as well. So, but again, this matchup seemed to suit what he does particularly well, and they sure took advantage of it.
With that win, and that Ohio State is now out of the way for now, they could very well see them again in the Big Ten championship game if everything continues on the path. Is there, at least from the fan base, a little bit of a sigh of relief that one's off the board and now they move through with what is not? I mean, Illinois is still on the schedule at Michigan, even though, we're not really even sure what they're going to be by November 2nd, are still out there for them.
Remind me again. So what are you asking?
Is there okay, that part's done. They got the big win. Now they can, now it's maybe a little bit easier because the first part of the schedule way tougher than the last one with, Boise State and Oregon State both on it.
Yeah, no, I think, particularly again with the way the season started, with the performances against Idaho and then a Boise State team that, I think is looking like a really good team with obviously a really, really good running back. There were some questions, I think, amongst the fan base the first few weeks of the year, kind of who was this Oregon team and did it have as high of a ceiling as we thought preseason? And so I think, when you go up against a program like Ohio State and come out on top like that, then that really validates that sense that, okay, yes, this really is a team that could be in the running in a couple months, to be maybe among the best, maybe the best team in the country. Certainly in that conversation. So really kind of validated, I think, some preseason expectation, hopes, optimism, whatever you want to call it. And obviously still a sense that there's a long, long way to go. But, knowing that you took down, albeit at home, another team considered a favorite in this conference, it's hugely validating. I think, nobody's breathing like a sigh of relief. To your question earlier about does that feel like a Big Ten game? And, genuinely, I'm not 100% sure. I haven't experienced many of them. I think for the Oregon fan base, haven't experienced a lot of what's to come too. So there's so much of a sense of kind of unknown about, the tricks that are coming up, some of the environments you got to play in. Oregon's played at Wisconsin, but it was, 20 something years ago. It was played at Michigan, but it was 15 years ago, whatever like that. So, there's kind of some unknowns, some uncertainty out there. But now that this is a program that can potentially reach as high of a ceiling as we thought it could if it plays well.
Be honest, when they played Oregon State and UCLA, you slipped and said it was a Pac-12 conference game.
Okay, knock on wood, I don't think I've said that yet. But now that you planted the seed, I'm sure I will, like in the next 2 days. Old habits certainly die hard. So I've been sort of like monitoring myself to see if I can keep up that winning streak. But yeah, it's obviously it's a year of transition, and we're all kind of learning and adjusting and getting used to this, and it is a big difference. But again, I think you look at things that validate the move. I think when you look at 10 million something people watching that game the other day. That's why you want to play in a league like the Big Ten. Oregon's next 2 games this week at Purdue and next week at Illinois are both on over-the-air broadcast networks. That's going to be 6 straight nationally televised over-the-air, whether it's CBS, NBC, Fox games. And that's never happened, we don't think, in school history. 6 straight weeks of being on an over-the-air kind of Big Four TV network. And so it just kind of shows you kind of the exposure that you can get. Oregon's obviously had a spotlight on it in recent years and earned that, but to have this consistently on this big of a stage, I think kind of validates the move in some ways.
They still have on their schedule a couple of top 25 teams, at least for now. They're at the end of it with Illinois, Michigan, the Washington game. The Huskies have been down, but that win against Boise State when they came back, down a touchdown to win that game, and the way the Broncos continue to play, that's got to be something that's a data point or something, because they won that game if Boise State continues to run the table.
Yeah, I think if you're Oregon, you could probably try to make the case that you have the best pair of wins. Whether anybody wants to say beating Ohio State is the best single win by any individual team. Beating Ohio State and Boise State again, albeit at home, where you do have a heck of an advantage. I think that anybody who didn't know that before last week now knows how much of an advantage Austin Stadium is. And so having both those games at home no doubt helps. But yeah, I think Oregon could credibly make at least an argument that that's the best pair of wins by any team in the country. So yeah, certainly as you're starting to parse through data points, and when you start to think about like playoff seeding, and if everything goes right and you're in that conversation still in a few weeks, that can only help.
Rob, thank you. Appreciate it. What a win for Oregon against Ohio State, unbeaten and number 2 in the country. A dramatic win, 32-31. Rob Moseley, GoDucks.com.